Well, you know, it truly is the final countdown as the August 1st trade deadline is just hours away. Joining us now is NBC Washington correspondent Alice Barr. And Alice, we are expecting to see a flurry of deals being reached today. And do we know which nations are going to get socked with tariffs when we hit midnight tonight?
Yeah, so it's not clear whether there will be, deals announced sliding in under the wire today. There are a whole bunch of countries that are still outstanding, and most notably among them are our neighbors to the north and the south. Canada and Mexico both do not have new trade deals confirmed. There is a broad swath of countries that are trading partners with the U.S. that are going to see these tariffs kick up. It's a range between 15% on the lower end for some of them, 20, 30%, and then up to Brazil is looking at a 50% tariff kicking in tomorrow. That's the worst of the bunch. But yeah, President Trump announced, for instance, India is going to face a 25% tariff. And that also, in addition, is going to include a penalty import tax because India has been buying Russian oil amid the war on Ukraine. There's also a deal that was announced with South Korea just under the wire for billions of dollars in new U.S. investment and 15% tariffs on goods entering the U.S. That's lower than the president had threatened, but sharply higher than in recent years. And the president said that there are literally trillions of dollars ultimately being brought into the country generated through these tariffs. But he said that there are negotiations ongoing with various countries, chief among them, as I noted, Canada and Mexico still being worked out. But China is actively in trade negotiations. They were ongoing this week and just wrapped up with a pause so that those don't soar back up to the really high rates that were kind of there was that campaign back and forth of really a trade war that was brewing before the pause button was hit. Yeah. So while those negotiations are underway, he said the rest, we're just sending out the bill. And that's those unilateral letters that he's been sending to world leaders, letting them know this is your tariff rate. And he said, and the Treasury Secretary has said, just because the rates kick in tomorrow doesn't mean that there can't be continued negotiations after that to then roll some of those much higher rates back to something lower. That's part of the pressure campaign that the Trump administration has been working on to try to get the best possible deals here. Yeah,
and in all this, in the middle of all this, Alice, the White House celebrated some strong economic news?
Yeah, so this was the GDP, gross domestic product growth number, basically how much the economy grew during the second quarter, during the spring, that grew by 3%, and that was better than expected. In fact, the economy had contracted at the start of the year, so that's a very positive turnaround. Inflation ticked up slightly in June, but has been trending downward overall this year alongside low unemployment, strong market growth, and now that GDP number. President Trump is certainly, indicating that those are all signs of a strong economy, and we're going to get a jobs report tomorrow that could offer another key indicator as well.
Gotcha. And there was a big announcement from the Fed keeping interest rates steady, but there was some unusual things about this. Break it down for us real quick.
Yeah, so what's notable here is that two of the Fed's governors who were appointed by President Trump dissented to the decision not to lower rates. They argued for a rate cut, echoing President Trump there. And it's the first time two governors dissented in more than 30 years. Essentially, Fed Chairman Jerome Powell, he said that higher tariffs have begun to show through in the prices of some goods, but that their overall impact on the economy remains to be seen, and that he's not comfortable cutting rates at this point until there's a better picture of whether those higher prices potentially from tariffs are going to force inflation up. President Trump slammed Chairman Powell on social media this morning, calling him a litany of names, questioning whether he should be in that job, and saying the American people are paying the price of his not cutting rates.
Gotcha. Alice, thanks so much for that insight. We'll be back with you again tomorrow.